Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session on threat intelligence and secure software development. Let me explain what we are going to cover in one simple sentence. Today, we are going to learn how hackers think and then how developers build software that doesn't fall for. Think of it like learning about burglars before becoming an architect. In the first half of this session, we will study the burglar side, that is, how attackers pick targets, how they get in, and how security teams catch them. This is called threat intelligence. In the second half, we will switch to the architect side, that is, how to design and build software so that even if a burglar tries, they can't get in easily. This is called secure software development. By the end of today, you will be able to look at any cyber attack in the news and explain step by step how it likely happened, and you will know what a development team should have done differently to prevent it. Let's look at our roadmap for today. We have 8 topics. It has been split into two halves. On the left side, we have four threat intelligence topics. First, threat hunting, that is, actively searching for hackers who might already be hiding in a network. Second, indicators of compromise, that is, IOCs, the clues or fingerprints hackers leave behind. Third, MITRE attack frameworks, a giant shared dictionary that describes every known hacker technique. Fourth, cyber kill chain, the step-by-step stages an attack goes through from start to finish. On the right side, we have four secure software development topics. First, secure SDLC, building security into every stage of making software, not just at the end. Second, code reviews, checking code for mistakes before it goes live, like proofreading and essay before submitting it. Third, DevSecOps basics, automating security checks so they happen every time code is written, without anyone having to remember to do it manually. Fourth, application security testing, actually testing the finished application to see if it can be broken. Here's a simple way to remember it. The left column teaches you to think like an attacker, and the right column build like a defender. We are now starting part 1. So let's begin. It's threat intelligence. Here's an easy way to think about threat intelligence. Just imagine you are a bank manager. Before you build higher walls or hire more guards, wouldn't it help you to know how thieves usually rob banks? Do they dig tunnels? Do they bribe an employee? Do they pretend to be a customer? Once you know their methods, you specifically defend against them. That's exactly what threat intelligence is in cybersecurity. It's the process of collecting information about how attackers operate so that defenders aren't guessing. Instead of waiting for an alarm to go off, security teams study attacker behavior in advance and use that knowledge to catch attacks early or even before they start. We will cover this through four building blocks, that is, threat hunting, IOCs, meta attack, and the cyber kill check, each one adding a new piece to the picture. Let's talk about threat hunting. Here's a simple analogy. Imagine your home has a security alarm system. Most of the time, you just trust the alarm. If it doesn't go off, you assume everything is fine. That's how traditional security monitoring works. It waits for an alert, but at a but a threat hunter doesn't trust that assumption. A threat hunter thinks, what if someone found a way to sneak in without triggering the alarm? So instead of waiting, they walk through the house themselves, checking closets, checking under the bed, checking if a window was left unlocked, actively searching for signs of an intruder who might already be inside. That's the core idea. That is, threat hunting is proactively searching for attackers who may have already gotten past your defenses without setting off any alarms. Now, what makes a hunter start looking? There are three common triggers. First, hypothesis driven. That is, I have a theory that attackers might be doing X. For example, I bet attackers might be using a common window tool called subtotal.exe to secretly download harmful files because it looks like a normal system activity and wouldn't trigger antivirus alerts. Second, indicator driven. That is, I just learned about a new malicious IP address from a threat report and let me check if anyone in our network has talked to it. Third, analytics driven. Our system flagged something unusual, like one employee laptop suddenly sending large amounts of data at 3 a.m. Once a hunter starts, they follow what's called the hunting loop. That is, first, form a hypothesis, that is, a guess based on evidence. Second, investigate the data, that is, check logs, network traffic, etc. Third, uncover new patterns. If maybe they find something suspicious and maybe they don't. Fourth, inform detections. That is, they turn what they learned into an automatic alert for next time. Fifth, repeat. That is, it starts over with a new hypothesis. Let's take an example. Let's say a hunter suspects attackers are hiding data, stealing scripts inside Word documents with macros. They pull logs of every computer that opened a Word document and enabled macros in the last, then check if any of those computers made unusual outbound network connections right afterward. If they find one, they have just uncovered a real attack and they'll know, create an automatic alert so this pattern is caught instantly in the future. Now let's have a demo. So we'll be analyzing network traffic with the help of Wireshark. I'm in Kali Linux currently. Uh, Instead of capturing live traffic, which would need real network activity, we are using an official sample packet capture provided by the Wireshark project itself, and it is meant specifically for learning. So this is completely legal and designed for training. So now this is a Wireshark. Think of it as a microscope for network traffic. And every single row here is one packet of data traveling across a network. It looks overwhelming at first, but we are only going to focus on a few things. Okay, let's just type DNS in the filter bar. I just told Wireshark only show me DNS traffic. In other words, only show me the request where a computer is asking what's the address for this website name. So see, you can see here it has started capturing. I'll be typing DNS in the filter bar. All DNS we are getting. DNS requests can reveal a lot, like including attempts to contact suspicious domains and everything. Okay. Uh, see, everywhere we can see DNS. You can see when I click, we get over here domain name system. It's query, response, where. In this way, we can check if there is any suspicious we can get. Okay. Now let's go to statistics conversations. This view shows us which computers you are talking to, which other computers, and how often. Okay. A threat hunter looks here for beaconings, that is, a pattern where one computer contacts the same external address again and again at regular intervals, like every 60 seconds. That regular heartbeat is a classic sign of command and control traffic, which we talked about in the cyber kill chain. Okay. See, you can see address A, address B, packets, files, and all. This is a simplified version of real threat hunting. That is step two of the hunting loop we discussed earlier. Okay, let's that is investigate the data. A real hunter would do this at a much larger scale, but the core skill is exactly what we just practiced. That is looking for things that don't fit the normal patterns. Now let's go further. Now let's talk about indicators of compromise or IOCs. Think of IOCs like fingerprints at a crime scene. When a detective investigates a robbery, they look for fingerprints, footprints, or a dropped item. That is, anything that proves someone was there and gives clues about who it was. In cybersecurity, an IOC is exactly that, a digital clue that a system has been broken into. IOCs come in four main types. First, network based. Network based IOCs. Just think of this as a suspicious phone calls. If your computer suddenly starts calling a phone number in a foreign country, that's wrong. Similarly, if a computer starts sending data to a strange IP address or a domain no one recognizes, that's a network based IOC. For an example, an employee's laptop repeatedly connects to a domain called updateservice.ru every 60 seconds. That's not a normal website. That's likely a hacker's control server. Second, host based. This is evidence found directly on a computer, like footprints in the house. This includes things like unique file fingerprints called hashes or changes to important system settings. For example, a brand new file appears in the Windows Startup folder that wasn't installed by IT. That's a host-based IOC. Third, email-based. Signs that show up in a suspicious email. For example, an email pretending to be from your bank, but the sender's actual address is, say, let's suppose it may be support at the rate bank of America Secure Login Info instead of the bank's real domain. Fourth, behavioral. Unusual actions or patterns, even if nothing looks technically good. For an example, an employee who normally logs in from Mumbai during working hours suddenly logs in from a different country at 2 a.m. and starts accessing files they have never touched before. Now, here's an important distinction: IOC versus IOA. An IOC, that is indicator of compromise, is like finding a broken window after the burglar already left. It proves something happened, but it's after the fact. And IOA, that is indicator of attack, is like a security camera catching something trying to pick the lock right now. That is, it catches the behavior in real time before before the break-in is complete. That's why IOAs are considered more valuable for early detection. They help you stop the attack while it's happening, not just clean up after it. Let's have a demo. Let's have a demo on IOC Lookup with the help of VirusTotal. Let's just close this. VirusTotal is a free, well-known tool analysts use every day to check whether a file, website, or IP address is known to be malicious. Let's search for something safe but realistic. Let's ask Google to generate a hash so that we can just search over here. Let's paste the hash. Search. This is called a file hash. Think of it as a fingerprint for a file. Instead of uploading the whole file, we can just search its fingerprint. I'm using the EICR test files hash here. It's a completely harmless string that the entire antivirus industry agreed to use for testing. Okay, now VirusTotal has scanned the files and we can see out of 62, 59 have flagged them as it has virus. Now, VirusTotal has scanned this fingerprint against dozens of different antivirus engines. Here it is 62, and it shows us 59 of them have been flagged. So this is exactly how a real security analyst starts investigating a suspicious file found on a company laptop. Now, let's just go to relations. These tabs would show us related IPs, domains, or other files. You can see. Yes. Let's go to community tab. This is how one IOC, one fingerprint can lead an investigator to an entire network of related malicious infrastructure. Okay. Now that's IOC lookup is a nutshell. Take a clue like a hash or domain, run it through an enrichment tool like VirusTotal, and use this context It gives you to decide whether something is dangerous and what else might be connected to it. So now let's move further. Let's get back to our session slides. Now let's talk about the meta attack framework. And don't worry, it sounds more complicated than it is. Here's a simple way to understand it. Imagine every known way a burglar has ever broken into a house has been written down in one giant shared book, organized neatly by chapter. That's basically what meta attack is for cyber attacks. A massive publicly available library for every known attacker technique used and updated by security professionals all over the world. It's organized into three levels like a filing system. First, tactics. That is, why? This is the attacker's goal at that moment. For example, I want to get into the network, that is initial access, or I want to steal data and get it out, that is exfiltration. Second, techniques and sub-techniques. That is how. This is the specific method used to achieve that goal. Every technique has a unique ID code, like a barcode, so professionals worldwide can refer to it precisely. Let's take an example. Say technique T1566 phishing is how attackers achieve the tactic initial access by tricking someone into clicking a malicious link or attachment. So let's take another example. Say technique T1055 is process injection is a method attackers use to hide their malicious code inside a legitimate already running program so antivirus software doesn't notice them. Third, procedures. The specific example. This is how one particular real hacker group actually carried out that technique. For example, a well-known hacking group called App29, also called as Cozy Bear, has been documented using phishing emails, the malicious word attachments as their specific procedure for the phishing techniques. Why does this matter for defenders? Yes, security teams use attack for several real practical reasons. That is, gap analysis. Out of the 200 plus known techniques, which ones can occur security tools actually detect? Which ones would sneak past us? Second, threat intel reporting. Instead of vaguely saying hackers got in, a report can precisely say the attackers used T1566.001 for initial access and another for persistence. This precision helps everyone understand exactly what happened. Third, red or purple teaming. That is, ethical hackers simulate real attacker technique IDs to test if defenses actually work. Fourth, detection engineering. Deciding whether which alerts to build next based on which techniques are most commonly used by real attackers. Now let's move for a demo. So let's move to Kali Linux. Now let's open Firefox and let's open MITRE attack website together. Yes, let's go to the website. Now this is a completely free public resource. Think of it as a giant shared encyclopedia that security professionals all over the world use and contribute to. No login needed, no installation needed, just a browse. Now, Let's tap to tactics, enterprise. Now see the list here. These are called tactics. They represent attackers' goal at a given moment. Like let's say, for example, this initial access means the attacker is trying to get their first foothold into a network. Okay. Now let's see. Exfiltration means they are trying to get stolen data out. Think of these tactics as the chapter titles in our burglar techniques book. Let's just click on this initial access. And let's go to the phishing. Now we have clicked into a specific techniques. This is how phishing technique ID T1566 is one of the most common ways attackers get into a network, tricking a person into clicking a malicious link or opening a malicious attachment. Notice it has an exit ID number you can see so that any security professionals anywhere in the world knows exactly which technique we are talking about without any confusion. Okay. Uh, these are the sub techniques. Techniques can also have sub techniques like more specific versions. Like you can see it is T1566.001.002 and all. Uh, 001 is a spear phishing attachment, meaning the attacker sends a malicious file. 002 is a spear phishing link, meaning the attacker sends a malicious link instead. This level of detail helps defenders build very precise detection. Okay, these are procedure examples. That is, this page lists real hacking groups like App29, who have actually used this technique in the past, along with recommended mitigations, like which are concrete steps an organizations can take to defend against it. This is the procedure level, and we talked about real world evidence of the technique being used. Now, now let's look at a companion tool called the Attack Navigator. This lets defenders visualize all the techniques at once, like a giant spreadsheet. So let's go there. Okay. Now, let's look at create new layer, enterprise. Yes. Um, let's just select something and color it for everybody. Mm, watch now. When I color few of these boxes, like some of them green and some of them red. Let's color this green. And green, red. Imagine green means our security tools can detect this technique, and red means we currently have no way to detect this. Real security teams build exactly this kind of heat map to visually spot their biggest gaps and when prioritize fixing the red boxes first. So let's summarize it. Meta attacks gives us a shared precise vocabulary. Uh, Organized for attacker behavior and organized from broad goals, that is tactics, down to specific real world examples, that is procedures, and tools like the Navigator helps defenders turn that knowledge into an actual action plan. Now let's get back to our slide. Cyber kill chain. Think of a cyber attack like a chain with seven links. Like if you break just one link anyway in that chain, the whole attack fails. The chain can't hold together. This is the entire idea behind the kill chain model created by Lockheed Martin. Let's walk through all seven stages using a simple story. Imagine a hacker wants to steal data from a company. First, reconnaissance. The hacker researches the company. They look at LinkedIn to find employee names, check the company website for email formats, and figure out what software the company uses. Example, they find that John Smith works in finance and his email is probably john.smith at the rate company.com. Second, weaponization. That is, the hacker builds their weapon, usually a malicious file like a Word document with a hidden harmful macro packaged to look like an invoice. Third, delivery. That is, the hacker sends this weaponized file to John, usually through a phishing email pretending to be from a vendor. Fourth, exploitation. John opens the attachment and the hidden code runs taking advantage of a weakness, maybe outdated software or maybe simply that macros were allowed to run. Fifth, installation. The malicious code is installs a backdoor on John's computer so the hacker can come back anytime. Sixth, command and control. C2. John's infected computer starts secretly phoning home to the hacker's server, checking in every few minutes for new instructions. 7. Actions on objectives. That is, the hacker uses their access to find and steal sensitive financial files, then quietly uploads them to a cloud storage account. Here's the crucial lesson. Like, if the company had stopped the attack at any single stage, for example, if the email filter had caught the phishing email at stage 3, that is delivery, or if their antivirus had blocked the macro at stage 4, that is exploitation, the entire 7-step attack would have failed completely. This is why we say breaking any one link breaks the whole chain, and blocking an attack early, like at delivery, is always far cheaper than dealing with it late after data has already been stolen. One honest limitation is that this model assumes a straight line, that is step 1 through step 7. But real attacks, especially insider threats or hackers using totally legitimate tools, don't always follow this neat order. That's why the kill chain is often used together with MITRE attack, which is more detailed and doesn't assume things happen in a strict sequence. Now let's shift gears completely and move to part 2, that is secure software development. Here's the connection. Everything we just learned about how attackers think, phishing, exploiting weakness, hiding in legitimate looking traffic, all of that should directly shape how developers build software. If you know a burglar likes to check for unlocked windows, you make sure to build houses with better window locks. In this half, we will cover secure SDLC code, review DevSecOps, and application security testing. That is essential. The practical, everyday habits and tools that turn we know attackers exist into our software actually resist them. Let's start with Secure SDLC, which stands for Secure Software Development Lifecycle. Here's a simple analogy. Imagine building a house. If you only think about security afterward, the house is fully built, like adding a lock to the front door at the very end. You might discover it's too late to fix bigger problems, like the fact that the ground floor windows are all at this eye level and easy to break. It would have been much cheaper and easier to think about security while designing the house. That is, deciding window placement, wall thickness, and door locations from the very beginning. Secure SDLC applies this same idea to software. Instead of adding security only at the end, we build it into every single piece. That is, first, requirements. Before writing any code, we ask, what are we protecting? What could go wrong? Example, this app will handle credit card numbers. So, we need to plan for encryption from day one. Second, design. We use a method called threat modeling. A popular framework is called STRIDE to imagine how someone could attack our planned designs before a single line of code is written. Example, if we allow users to reset passwords via email, could someone abuse that to lock other people out of their accounts? Third, development. Developers follow secure coding rules and run automatic scanning tools, SAST, while writing code, catching mistakes immediately. Fourth, testing. We actively test the software by attacking it ourselves, such as dynamic testing, penetration testing, and fuzzing. That is, throwing weird, unexpected input at the app to see if it breaks. Fifth, deployment. That is, we make sure the servers are configured securely and that password or API keys, that is, secrets, aren't accidentally exposed. Sixth, maintenance. Even after launch, we keep patching newly discovered vulnerabilities and monitoring for suspicious activities. The guiding rule here is called shift left. Imagine your development timeline is as a line moving left to right. Shifting left means catching problems as early as possible on that line. Here's why this matters with real numbers. Many organizations report fixing a security bug during the design phase might take a developer 10 minutes to sketch a better approach. Fixing that same flaw after the software is already live and being used by customers could take days of emergency work, cost significant money, and damage the company's reputation if attackers found it first. Now, let's talk about code review. That is one of the most practical everyday habits in secure development. Think of code review like proofreading an important essay before submitting it, except instead of just checking grammar, you are checking for security mistakes. And just like essays benefit from both a human reader and a spell checker tool, code benefits from two types of review. First, manual peer review. A human teammate reads through your code changes, that is usually through something called a pull request, before it's added to the main project. Humans are great at understanding context and business logic, things a tool might miss. Example, a tool might not notice that your code lets any logged in user view any other user's private messages just by changing a number in the URL. But a sharp human reviewer thinking about how the feature is supposed to work would catch this immediately. Second, automated static analysis, that is SAST. Tools like SonarQube, Checkmarks, or Semgrep scan your code automatically without running it, comparing it against thousands of known bad patterns. This is incredibly fast and catches things at massive scale. For example, a SAST tool can scan 10,000 lines of code in seconds and immediately flag line 245. Like, for example, line 245, you are inserting user input directly into a database query. This is vulnerable to SQL injection. What should reviewers specifically look for? Yes, first, input validation. Is user type data properly checked before being used? For example, if a form only expects a phone number, does the code reject someone typing in a snippet of code instead? Second, authentication and access control. Can users only see and do what they are supposed to? Fourth, hard-coded secrets. That is, did someone accidentally leave a password or API key directly in the code, like leaving our house key test under the doormat with a sign pointing to it? Fourth, weak cryptography. Is the app using odd or broken encryption methods? Fifth, error message leaking info. Does a broken login page accidentally reveal password incorrect versus username doesn't exist, which helps an attacker guess valid usernames? And last, that is insecure deserialization, a more advanced flaw where an application trusts and processes data it shouldn't, like potentially letting an attacker run their own code. Here's a golden rule for you. Neither manual review nor automated tools alone catch everything. The best teams use both together. Now let's have a demo. Now first let's install some packages, like we are installing Semgrep, that is a free open source static analysis tool. It remembers static means it reads code without ever running it, just like a proofreader reads an essay without acting out every sentence. So let's just install it. Yeah, so it will take some time. Uh, Here, Shop is a deliberately vulnerable web application built on purpose by the security community for people to practice on. So you can think of it like a crash test dummy car. It's completely legal and safe to scan and attack because that's exactly what it was built for. So I have just cloned it from GitHub. Okay. So now let's run the command. Now, while this scans, let me explain what's happening behind the scenes. Like Semgrep is comparing every file in this code base against thousands of known bad coding patterns, like things like unsafe database queries or weak cryptography that is without executing a single line of the actual application. So this is the output, what we get. Now, let's type It will take some time, yes. See, now you can see scan, summary scan. Yeah, so here's Semgrep is telling us this line hard codes a private key, which is then used to sign JWT tokens. Like these are the tokens that prove a user is logged in. If this were a real application and this code leaked, say through a public GitHub repo, which happens more often than you would think, anyone could forge a valid login token for any user, including an administrator, without ever knowing a real password. The fix is straightforward. Move this key into an environment variable or a secrets manager so it's never actually returned into the code itself. Now let's move forward further. Let's type another command. Now this one is called an open redirect. Like the code takes a URL straight from user input and redirects the browser there without checking it first. An attacker could send someone a link that looks like it belongs to your trusted site, but which silently redirects them to a phishing page instead. Okay, now let's move further. Let's type. Uh, just a second. Yeah, so you can see now this is subtitled text from user input is inserted directly inside a script tag without being clean parsed. If an attacker crafts subtitle content containing their own JavaScript, that script would run in another user's browser. That's cross-site scripting on one of the most common vulnerabilities on the OWASP. Okay, now, now we scanned an entire real-world size code base in under a minute. That's the power of automated static analysis. It doesn't replace human code review, but it covers massive amounts of code instantly, catching the patterns a person might miss or not have time to check manually. Now let's get back to our PPT. Let's talk about DevSecOps. Think of it as taking everything we just discussed about code review and security testing and making it happen automatically every single time without anyone needing to remember to do it. Here's an analogy. Imagine a food factory. You could rely on workers to remember to check for contamination at random times. Or you could install automatic sensors on the conveyor belt that check every single product every single time with zero chance of forgetting. DevSecOps is choosing the second option for the software security. Let's walk through the pipeline stage by stage, like a product moving down that conveyor belt. First, pre-commit, that is, before code is even saved to the shared project, IDE plugins and secret scanning tools catch obvious mistakes like an accidentally pasted password before the code ever leaves the developer's laptop. Second, CI build, that is continuous integration. When code is combined together, automatic SAST scans run plus something called SCA, that is software composition analysis, which checks if any of the free open source libraries your app depends on have known vulnerabilities. For example, your app uses a popular open source library for handling images. SACA automatically checks it's this exact version of the library on the list of known vulnerable versions. Third, CI test. The application is scanned while run. DAST. Containers are scanned for issues and infrastructure configuration files are checked. IAC scanning. Example. Making sure a cloud storage bucket isn't accidentally configured to be public to the entire internet. Fourth, CD deploy, continuous deployment. Before the app goes live, automated policy kits double check that all rules were followed. If something fails, the deployment is automatically blocked. Fifth, post deploy. Even after launch, monitoring tools continue watching for new vulnerabilities or suspicious runtime behavior. The four guiding principles are shift left, that is, catch things early. Second, automation, that is, let machines do repetitive checks. Third, that is, shared responsibility. Security isn't just one team's job, everyone owns it. And fourth, continuous feedback. That is, developers get instant results, not a report 3 weeks later. Popular real tools you will encounter in the industry are Semgrep or checkmarks for SAST, SNCC for dependency scanning, and Trivi or Aqua for container scanning, Gitlix for catching secrets, and Chekhov or TFSec for infrastructure code. Let's have a demo. Now, here, I have created a tiny sample project, one deliberate mistake. with one deliberate mistake or fake placeholder API key hard coded directly into the file. Obviously, this isn't a real key, but it represents a very common real world mistake. Okay, and this is what I have done. This file tells GitHub every time someone pushes new code to this project, automatically runs a Semgrep security scan. No human needs to remember to do it. Okay, I was talking about this code. Now let's go further. Now, now I'm pushing this code to GitHub, just like a developer would after finishing. So you can see I've pushed this on GitHub. Now let's open File Explorer and go to github.com. So this is my GitHub account. We'll be creating here repos. Let's just demo. So now it's created. Yeah. Now see this repo has been created. We will be copying this URL and then we'll be pasting it in our terminal. Let's go to our terminal. So we have pasted that URL over here. It means yet the push is not been taken place. So let's write the command. Let's go further. So in this way, you can just git commit and push. You can see over here. Okay. This happened because we used Kali, so I just did it. Um, Password will be this is our password. So in this way, you can just push it. Right now, it's not supporting, but you can follow this procedure. Okay, let's move further. Yeah, so let's move further. Now it's application security testing. Let's cover the different ways we actually test a finished or nearly finished application for weakness. I like to compare this to different ways of testing a new car's safety. Like, you wouldn't rely on just one method. You would inspect the blueprints, crash test, and check every individual. So first is SAST, that is Static Application Security Testing. It is reading the blueprint, analyzes source code without running the application, used early during development. Second is DAST, that is Dynamic Application Security Testing. Actually, crash testing the car finish, tests the running application from the outside, exactly like a real attacker would, without seeing the source code at all. Next is IAST, that is Interactive Application Security Testing. It is hybrid, like having some sensors installed inside the car during the crash test and combining both static and dynamic insight at once. Next is SCA, Software Composition Analysis. It checks if any of the pre-made parts you bought from other manufacturers, that is open source libraries, have a known recall or defect. Next, penetration testing, hiring a professional stunt driver to try every trick they know to break the car in a controlled, authorized setting. Example, a company hires ethical hackers to spend 2 weeks trying to break into their new banking app before it launches publicly. Next, first testing, throwing random, weird, unexpected junk at the car's controls just to see what breaks. In software, this means feeding an application garbled or unexpected input to see if it crashes or behaves unpredictably. The OWASP Top 10 is the industry's most trusted checklist of the most common and dangerous web application weakness. Things like broken access control, injection flaws, and security misconfiguration. It's the standard target list. Most of these testing methods are aimed at. The important point is, just like you wouldn't trust a car company that only checked the blueprint and never actually crash tested the car, no single testing method alone is enough. Mature security programs layer all of these together. Now let's have a demo. Yeah, so here we are starting as this target choose stop instead of Docker container, a lightweight, isolated environment running only on my own machine, not exposed to the internet. This is important. We are only ever testing something running locally on our own computer. Now, here's the it will take a bit time. So it's done. Now let's go to File Explorer. Let's go to localhost. Actually, here is the storefront application we are about to test. It looks like a real online shop, which is exactly the point. It is designed to feel real. Just a second. Yes, I'll explain you how it works. Now let's start. So this is OWASP Zap, one of the most popular free tools for testing a running web application from the outside. The same way an attacker would without ever looking at the source code. Let this happen. Yeah, so this is our Zap. It looks like this. Uh, it's just so in this way you can see this is Zap first crawls the site just like a search engine robot, visiting every page and link it can find. Then it starts sending the graphic test request to each page, checking for common reasons. In this way, Zap works. Okay, and and this is the way we do it. Semgrep found issues by reading the source code. Zap finds issues by interacting with the finished running application without seeing any code at all. This is exactly why the application security testing slide said no single method is enough. SAST and DAST catch different things and mature teams use both. So let's go to our slide back. So before we wrap up, here's a quick reference for every key term from today's session. So you can have a glimpse over it. If you ever forget what one of these command acronyms means while working through the exercises or while rewatching this recording, just pause here and have a quick look over it. Yes, let's move further. So that brings us to the end of today's session on threat intelligence and secure software development. So let's just have a quick recap. We started by learning how attackers are found and understood. through threat hunting, IOCs, MITRE attack, and the cyber kill chain. Then we flip to the builder's perspective and learn how developers create software that resists those same attacks through secure SDLC code and review, DevSecOps, and application security tests. Please do side by side try what we have covered today. And if you have any questions or queries, you can reach out to us at biotechrebion@gmail.com. So thank you.